I think we should start, right? So the time is 1 o'clock here.
Yeah. Okay.
Catherine, do you think it's necessary to have like a group photo to have a screenshot for all participants? Maybe in the end, right?
Yeah, maybe in the end. Yeah. At
Okay,
the
okay,
moment, maybe participants haven't come in yet.
okay. Okay. So it's 1 o'clock, and so good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to our EAAFP Shorebird Working Group seminar. So my name is Yang Liu. I come from Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou. Um, so this afternoon is actually the first seminar about Asian Dowitcher conservation. So we gather people like conservation biologists, shorebird expert, and also people are concerned about conservation study of Asian Dowitcher to share their discovery and also to update information in both the breeding, non-breeding grounds. So we will have a six speakers. So each will have 15 minutes talk. So after these talks, we will have like 30 minutes like open discussion, and people have this opportunity to share information and to discuss issues we need to concern or work together. So I can just introduce the first speaker, who is Mr. Evgeny Shemayakin. So sorry I don't know how to pronounce your name properly. And so he's from Siberian branch of Russian Academy of Sciences. And he will bring us a talk about migratory movement of the Asian Dutch colonizing for the first time the taiga wetland in eastern Siberia. So it's really a great opportunity to have a Russian representative to share their results. Okay, so Evgeny, are you ready?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ziyu Yang. Uh, yeah.
Can you share your
Okay.
slides? Okay.
You see?
Yeah, it's good.
Uh-huh. Hello, dear colleagues, dear seminar participants. Let me introduce our research result. Migratory movement of the Asian Dowitcher breeding for the first time in taiga wetlands, eastern Siberia, as revealed by satellite tracking. Uh, The Asian Dowitcher is distributed as a breeding species exclusively in the steppe and forest steppe zone of Asia. The number of its global population is estimated at 23,000 of birds, which form fragmented and very dynamic area. Disparate nesting grouping of the species were stably located or a period between 44-57 degree north latitude in the upper reaches of the Ob River Basin, upper reaches of Yenisei River, and middle lower Amur River in 20th century. Uh, in eastern Siberia, until the mid 2010, the northern limit of the species distribution was at about 56 degree north latitude. Latitude since 2018, the formation of new reproduction area is observed far to the north of the known distribution boundaries in the western part of central plains, central Yakutia. Yeah. The first registration of Asian Dowitcher in Vili Basin was in 2005 year. On bird flock of 10 birds was killed by a hunter during duck hunting on May 22. In the next 4 days, pairs and several groups of shorebirds were observed on the forest lake. In 2013, flocks of up to 10 birds were registered on May 19 and 26. However, in summer and autumn, no Asian Dowitcher were observed in this place until 2018. The first bird with well-defined breeding behavior were registered in summer 2018. Two pairs were constantly kept here, and here was legit concentration formed by 4 flocks. 48, 86, and 18 and 40 birds on the lake. Among them, at least 10 birds demonstration breeding behavior. In 2019 years, more than 15 birds, 50 birds, I'm sorry, and the 4 nests were observed on June 9 on the above mentioned lake. In addition, there were 9 more birds with the breeding behavior. In 2020 years, in addition, about 90 birds with breeding behavior were found in 100 kilometers north the nesting site discovered in 29. In 2018 and the 20 pairs and flock up to 10-30 birds arrivals to nesting site were observed in the second half of May. Judging by the hatching time, which began at the end of June second week, they started to breed shortly after arrival at the original range. In 2021 year, in addition, the new nesting sites were discovered 8 kilometers east of them, as well as flocks of 19 birds in 200 kilometers northeast of the and at least 3 birds on the watershed of Lena and Valley River in 313 kilometers eastward. Yeah. In early June 221 years, 6 adult were tagged with the satellite transmitter Icarus. The birds were captured on site where stable nesting group were observed 2018-2021 years. You may see here the first tagged bird migration by tracking data. June 6, 20, the first tagged bird was keeping near its nesting site. June 20 in July. These birds was moved not yet. July 5, the birds moved from this point southward to northeast China, where it kept to July 9. July 9, the birds filled the coast of Yellow Sea and stopped here till August 24. From 24 August, it continued its flight to south direction till September 1, when it reached in Indonesia eastern shore, where it stopped for 17 days. Further on the September 17, the birds flew to South Sumatra. Sept 18, it arrived there. The second birds were tagged on June 4. On June 6, July 20, the bird was keeping near its nesting site. From July 23 to August 1, the bird was at the border of northeastern Mongolia. On August 5, the birds flew to east of China at the Yellow Sea and stopped there until August 31. From August 31 to September 4, it reached South Vietnam, South China shore. The satellite transmitter of the third tagged birds started to work only July 27 and it worked till August 17. On August 17, the birds flew from to the Yellow Sea shore to seashore in Hong Kong, where it stopped till August 26. On August 26, it moved to Sumatra, and the last satellite signal was sketched off on September 21. The satellite of the bird was started to work on July 27. From this day to August, this bird was in eastern China. For August 2, 13, 30, the birds reached Bohai Bay. On August 40, it flew to Yellow Sea shore and stopped there till September 3. On September 6, reached Thailand. The satellite transmitter of Birds 5 started to work on July 23 in eastern Mongolia. From this date, it reached Bohai Bay on July 28, where it stopped August 24. For August 24 to August 27, the bird flew to Philippines, where it stayed till September 5. On September 6, the bird reached Indonesia, and its satellite worked to September 23. The satellite transmitter of 6 bird started to work at Bohai Bay and July 31 and worked to August 30. Based on the results of 6 Asian Dowitcher tracks, we obtained data on the living of these birds for wintering ground from their breeding territory. From the new breeding territory, we received two Dowitcher tracks July 5 and 20 to the wintering site. All the birds we caught during the autumn migration stopped for a month to rest and feed on the shore of the Bohai Bay and the Yellow Sea. According to our latest data, 5 of the 6 birds taken by the transmitter currently are in Indonesia, South Sumatra, Vietnam, and Thailand. In 2019 and 2020, colleagues from Mongolia installed 8 transmitter on Asian Dowitcher, and on of them flew to Yakutia at the end of May 2020 years. Oh, sorry. Asian Dowitcher is classified as a steppe endemic with a high degree of bionicity. It's coming into the taiga zone on the western edge of the central Yakutia. Plain in explained with the presence of unique crearid wetlands in the Lena River basin. The discovered nesting site of Asian Dowitcher are related to lakes which are traditionally places for fishing, hunting, for waterfall, and the main highfield and grazing lands. Probably a small number of nests may be distributed due to the movement of freely grazing horses and the cows, which often enter shallow lake water in June, crossing nesting habitat. Taking into account the presence in the region of factor complex that are favorable favorably for the species habitats. We assume that its dispersal can to repeat in the distribution scenario in Lena River basin of lapwing and Martian sandpiper in the second half of the 20th century of the river basin, Lena. Thank you for your attention. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So now it's still time for some questions. So participant can choose to open your microphone and ask directly, or you can type your question in the chat box. So any questions?
Hi, I have a question. I'm from Philippines. I don't know if can everyone hear me? Or can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I've been monitoring the Asian Dowitchers that has been dropping into a rice field every year. It is usually dropping in around mid-August to early September. I'm curious about his GPS if it drops to where I am looking at when I go monitoring. The Dowitcher that he has that drops into the Philippines, because from the years of experience of monitoring them, uh, I suspect these are the ones that doesn't stay in our mudflat in Bulacan. I suspect they just pass by. And his graph earlier that shows it goes to Indonesia after pretty much proves to me that my suspicion has been right all along. So I was wondering if the birds that he's seeing in his sat tag, if it drops, the population of that rice field I go to is somewhere around 40 to 100 Asian Dowitchers on that time of the year, along with about 400 Godwits.
Okay, thank you. The Philippine territory, my GPS track, no more. Sorry. Malaysia, Sumatra. Yeah, the Philippine territory, my birds, this 27 August, 5 September time, the Philippine territory, maybe stopover sites. Yeah.
Does it stop somewhere in Pampanga area? It's an area filled with rice fields. And at that time of the year, around August, it's actually between July to September. It's filled with water. The rice fields is not yet plowed to plant, and they're about probably less than a foot deep water, and that's when most of the shorebirds would go to there. The big ones, which are the Asian Dowitchers and the Godwits and stilts. Last week I had about 400 plus of them, and I had about marsh sandpiper of about 7,000.
Thank you.
So I was wondering if the GPS you have, did it drop into that area, in an area in Pampanga, Central Luzon?
Okay, I guess
yeah. It's me track and rice. Надо посмотреть какой-то. We need to check
Yeah.
Philippines and the rice territory. Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's some really details about the locations. So perhaps so you two can share this through email or like a chat in the chat box because
Okay,
our
thank you.
time is limited.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for your question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Our next speaker. So the next speaker is Huiga. I mean, his name is very long. I'm sorry, I'm not able to pronounce correctly. He's from Mongolian Bird Conservation Center. He will talk about the research on the Asian dogwitcher in Eastern Mongolia. So yeah, please go ahead. Can you share your screen? Yeah, perfect. Hello, can you speak? It seems you are muted or not.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now it's good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you for the organizers giving us the good opportunity to talk about our work on shorebirds and especially Asian dowitchers in Northeast Mongolia. So today we will talk about some very brief results from the Shorebird research station in Northeast Mongolia and also the migration of Asian dowitchers from Eastern Mongolia. Okay, my name is Gan Huik, and I work for Mongolian Bird Conservation Center. And okay, so I would like to introduce very briefly about Mongolia. Mongolia is located between Russia and China, and the northern part of Mongolia is covered by forest, Siberian forest, and the western part is covered by Altai Mountains, high mountains, and southern Mongolia is covered by Gobi Desert, and eastern Mongolia is covered by the Manchur Mongolian steppe grassland. And the central Mongolia is mostly the rolling hills with stones and 5 different big landscapes. And also Mongolia locates in and covered by 3 major flyways, and more in the east and East Asia, Asian flyway, and Central Asian flyway, and West Africa and West Asian flyways. And we have a total of 70 important bird areas and identified in 2009. And you can see the MN66 is landscape of the area where our Chokha research station is located. And here is the Chokha research station located in one of the biggest Ramsar sites. And briefly about the MBCC, Mongolian Bird Conservation Center. So, in number one is the number in our main office is located in Newby, and which is capital of Mongolia. And the number two is our Shorebird research station location in the Northeast Mongolia. And the number three is the branch office in Eastern Mongolia, based in Chobasan city. And we have also the Raptor station in Central Mongolia, mostly working on sacred falcons and artificial nests. So, Chukh Lake is located in Northeast Mongolia, and now you can see the location point of our lake, and also you can see in the world map. And this small lake is actually fed by the the small river called Old River, and during the rain season, when the Old River is floated, it also feed the lake, and lake was also the feed by the groundwater. And you can see here the three red lines, and the more in the left side, it's Old River, which feed the Torre Lake in the World Heritage Site. And our Shorebird research station locates in the middle of the river and the lake. And in the more on the right, you can see the Chok Lake. So this is the general view of our place. And this river also used to be provide very good nesting habitat for Asian Dowitcher before, but the last 3 or 4 years, no any Asian Dowitchers recorded in breeding in this areas. So it's Chok Lake. So actually, we recorded 40 species of shorebirds and during the migration, and so those 15 species are most abundant and common species at our lake. And the last 4 or 5 years, this is the numbers in the year, and also the total species of numbers of birds, and also the shorebird species. We had mostly the 25 to 36 species of shorebirds recorded during the migration season at the Chok Lake. And you can see here in the graphic. So in 2019, we had 31 Asian Dowitchers counted in the lake. And 2020, we had more than 200 Asian Dowitchers recorded. And then since 2020, the number of Asian Dowitchers, even shorebirds, really decreased. So last year we had the last 2 years, 23 and 24, we had only 10 individual Asian Dowitchers trapped in our nets, and 21 individuals were actually counted at the lake. And here we want to show you that how the habitat of breeding sites of Asian Dowitchers were really decreased. And so then you can see then the red crosses those are the points used to be breeding sites in the history. And in the last May and June, we checked those lakes and the wetlands, and so we know any breeding or nesting Asian Dowitchers were recorded in those red cross. And but in the red question marks, we didn't check, and maybe in the future we have to check those areas. And in Chok Lake, we count all the birds in the lake, and also we used the mist nets and trap them and ring them. And also we used the transmitters to track the routes, especially for Asian Dowitchers and godwits and some of other threatened shorebirds. And every year, and the students from the universities that works in our station as volunteer. And we all know that in the Mongolia, and color flag is it's our blue our green in the right leg, and we have also engrave code on the green flag. So we had the high number of Asian Dowitchers were trapped in 2020. We had 30 individuals, and the 8 of them were tracked and using the transmitter from Hanzo Yuhai technology. And this is the brief information of the trapped Asian Dowitchers, and the 3 juveniles and the 5 adults. And most of them were trapped during the August and during the autumn season. Yeah, we used the move package to identify the routes, and also to use the analyze the flight speed, and also use the net square displacement. And also we compared the 2 sample t-test in our program to see any flight differences. So we identified several stopover sites for migratory Asian Dowitchers from Chok Lake to the wintering areas. And here is the information and when the transmitter starts and also the end and stop our sites. And the first bird was actually started the migration in end of August and winter in Vietnam and also Liangyang and also in Bahoy Bay and Weifang, Jiangsu province, and also Sulakan province and Liangyang. So now you can see here the stopover sites in the red color, red circle, and also migratory Asian dowitchers in a green circle. So you can see here where the Asian dowitchers were stayed on long days and some of important stopover sites during the migration along the coast. So we here rank the important stopover sites. Liangyang, most of our birds, 7 of 8 birds, dowitchers were used the Liangyang as a stopover sites, and almost 1 month, and the Chok Lake was the trapping sites. And after we used the transmitter, and they stayed in Chok Lake nearly 3 weeks. And also the Dalai Lake was one of the important stopover sites, and also Huing River in Inner Mongolia, and also Jiangsu province in China, and even Moring River. And also Philippines, we had the 2 areas in the Philippines and in the stopover and wintering areas especially. That was in Tarlac province, and another one was the Bulacan province. And also Inner Mongolia is the Hongshan Reserve was also the important area. And okay, then Vietnam also the Mekong River. And we all know that how the importance of the Liangyungang and the coastal area for migratory Asian dowitchers. And yeah, most of our Asian dowitchers were used the Liangyungang as a stopover, and the tracked birds from Chuk Lake in northeast Mongolia, all of them were winter in the Southeast Asian countries, mostly Indonesia and yeah, Indo-Malayan countries. The one bird was to fly over 4,200 meters, and the flight speed was 60 kilometers per hour. Here is the oration that which is from Mongolia and winter sites in Indo-Malayan countries. Okay, and with a brief conclusion that our Chuk Lake during the spring time, the most active and the peak period was in last 2 weeks of May, and during the autumn, the peak period was first 10 days of August for the shorebirds. And last 3 years, starting from 2001 and 2 and 3, those 3 years were the number of shorebirds were decreased because of the rain season was started in Mongolia, especially in eastern Mongolia in 2020, and most of the steppe lakes were the water level was increased, and which was not. It becomes not really suitable for many migratory shorebirds during the migration, and so the lots of small steppe lakes were established and created during the rain season, and the shorebirds used many small steppe lakes during the migration. That's probably the reason why the number of migratory shorebirds were decreased the last 3 years. And also nesting habitat of Asian dowitchers in Mongolia is decreasing. It's not increasing, decreasing. So based on last May and June surveys in the historical areas, so we didn't find any breeding Asian dowitchers from the historical breeding sites. And Liangyungang is the most important stopover site for migratory Asian dowitchers in both migration periods. And the young dowitchers are intended to migrate over sea or ocean, while adults are migrating along the coast. And out of 14 and 6 stopover sites were densely populated areas without protection along the coast. Therefore, further attention and intensive research and observations are needed in those unprotected regions, which is Pine Lakes in Inner Mongolia, and Ablang Sapang, and also Solokang, Mekong River, and Horse River, and Bahoy Sea. Those are the important stopover sites without any protection. And basically, the Asian Dowitchers follows a coastal migration strategy. Protection and increasing the stopover sites during the spring and autumn migration is essential. And of course, so we have lots of the manpower to work on this species, and we would like to thank our students and volunteers, and also the Dr. Jiao Shengwu from the Wetland Ecosystem Research in Hanzhou Bay, and also our drivers, and also the local herder families, and also the additional thanks goes to Dr. Jimmy Choi, and also Catherine Leung, and also Jiao Yang, and lots of people and helped us work on this shorebird surveys in Eastern Mongolia. And of course, the trapping permission is issued by our Ministry of Environment and Tourism of Mongolia. And thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much for your interesting talk. So because our time is limited, we want to keep track of our schedule. So we won't allow question for this talk, but we still encourage our audience to raise your question in the chat box. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, thank you. Let's move on our next speaker. So it's still from Mongolia. So Mr. Batmuch Davasuren. So he's from Wildlife Science and Conservation Center of Mongolia. He will share us about the conservation status of Asian Dowitcher in Central and Western Mongolia.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'm very glad to participate this online webinar about sharing my research results in Central Mongolia, as well as sharing our literature reviews from the Western and Central Mongolian Asian Dowitcher status. And my name is Batmuch. I am working in the Wildlife Science and Conservation Center of Mongolia. And okay, let's go. Okay, we all know that Asian Dowitchers has very scattered, isolated breeding populations in the northeastern Asia. And Mongolia is one of the key breeding sites located in the key breeding distribution of the Asian Dowitchers. And based on the citizen science data, I would like to share that we have Asian Dowitchers spread across the country from Western Age to Eastern Age. And the earliest arrival of the migrants arrived on 13th of May in Eastern Mongolia. Latest observation of the Asian Dowitchers in the country was in mid-September, which is likely young bird, I would say. And the largest flock size was in Western Mongolia, 150 in 2018. But as we saw that from Hoiga's presentation in Eastern Mongolia, there was 257 individuals observed. And based on the latest literature from Mongolian Birds of Mongolia book, authors mentioned there is several breeding places in Central and Western and Northern Mongolia. And I filtered from the bird data from Western and Central Mongolian lakes where the observation is proven by photos. And as you can see, Haros Lake is 150 individuals in 26th of May, likely arrival of the breeding places. But Haros Lake is one of the huge lake wetland system, and it is very often overlooked the breeding population of the birds, might be. And then is Eyring Lake, which is 57 individuals recorded in, it's almost 20 years ago, which is breeding three small flocks and is isolated. They were clutch of 432 eggs observed, and it's published in the International Veterinary Study Bulletin from Thomas Now. And he mentioned that it's class size of 4 of them is very rarely observed. Might be from 2 females lay their eggs in the one nest, which is mentioned in Baikal region in Silinga Delta. Then it's you can see in the southern Western Mongolia, it's Gobi Lakes, which is most often monitored by bird watchers. Especially, this is the main target location of the bird watching trips in Mongolia. There's a main site is Holbolj Lake, which is always hosting about 20 individuals, and Boonsaran Lake, one of the biggest lake in the Gobi region. Then Burd Lake, very close to Holbolj Lake. And then goes to the central Mongolia, it's Ugi Lake and Bain Lake. Those are the main breeding places nowadays. They still have about 10 breeding birds observed each year. And Gungalot also one of the few birds observed every year. And based on the leg flags, there's a publication from NOAA in 2008, Asian Dowitcher target in northwestern Australia observed in Eyring Lake, where they breed. And one of the birds I ringed in Dairanga was recited in Lianongan, and 1 week later. Then one of the birds from Ugi Lake in central Mongolia, I ringed was recited in next autumn in Lianongan, which is indicating central Mongolian birds also using the stopover site for Lianongan. And I'd like to introduce about the bird ringing stations in Mongolia, which is I'm mainly coordinating Borg and Hawk bird ringing stations, which is passerine oriented, especially land bird monitoring stations, and Choch bird ringing stations mainly for waders and water birds, as well as Ugi Wetland Center. And one of the youngest one, I would say, is started 2022, and mainly for shorebirds and waterfowls. It's all volunteer-based ringing stations. If you have a ringing experience or counting experience, I'm very encouraged to visit our stations to help for us to monitor the shorebirds and ring the shorebirds. And Ugi Wetland Center is one of the very initial step of the long-term monitoring. I would like to start from the birds first, especially shorebirds, then extend it to fish and other biodiversity monitoring station. And Ugi Wetland Center is one of the Ramsar site and one of the smallest one. It's about 2,500 hectares, and one of the still not protected by state law. An important bird area, also network, flyway network site. And current treat for the lake was overgrazing. It's a very small lake, but it's still hosting about 30,000 livestock year round, overgrazing freely, and which is very difficult for the breeding birds especially, and also which pollute the water of the lake. And also it's one of the target for tourism, especially fishermen's, also sightseeing tourists, especially in the summertime, which is disturbing a lot of birds. You can see here is Ugi Lake overview, like The bird is fed by this inflow from Orkney River, then out goes to this channel. And this is about 8 kilometer long and 4 kilometer width. And we are staying in this watchtower, monitoring, counting daily based shorebirds and waterfowls. And those stars are main breeding places for the waterfowls. In this lake, about 263 species registered, which is more than 60% of the Mongolian birds. And out of 60 waders species in Mongolia, 46 of the waders recorded in this lake. And very important for this lake is many endangered and vulnerable species can be seen and used as stopover and breeding place for this lake. And all shoreline except the western shorelines, those are human dominated, especially tourist camps and fishing and camping places. And we only not allow the visitors to camping in the western shore because it will be a Ramsar site and it also disturb the many birds. And Ogi wetland is one of the key bird are Asian Dowitchers. And since 2016, yearly there is Asian Dowitchers recorded. But in 2020 and 2021, which is a gap because of the COVID restriction, nobody seen any Dowitchers there. But in the last 2 years, there's still up to 10 birds recorded and is playing. But we assume their birds are unsuccessfully breeding because those lush green wetlands are usually disturbed by the livestock during the breeding season, especially May and June. Early June, all grasses started growing from these wetlands. There's all livestock rush to this fresh vegetable to feed firstly. That's why there's trampling of the horses and the cows are very disturbing for this, not only Asian, though it's many waterfowls and waders. And our main station is regularly daily based ringing from May to June, then late July to early September. In 2023, we had pilot study, which is 442 individuals ringed. And 2023, we have full season and 1,200 birds ringed. And this year we had about 600 individuals ringed. And most birds are long-toed distinct and curlew sandpipers. But this year we had change of the waders, especially common red chungus and common sandpipers are most numerous crop birds. And based on our ringing recoveries, most recited birds are curlew sandpipers from Highland, Taiwan, and mostly wintering sites in Australia. Then little-ringed flower from China, ruddy turnstone, one of the very amazing migration, I would say, which is recorded in wintering in Australia in late April, and early April. Then this bird recited and trapped in Ugi wetland center a year later, which is indicating of these birds are constantly using this Ugi lake as stopover site during the inland migration. And try to protect the breeding species, especially from livestock. We are luckily supported from the Mongolian president about restoring the Ugi wetland. And this year we had started the fence of the 10-kilometer shorelines from the livestock, which is still a little bit effort to negotiate with the herders, especially who benefits from this wetland. Especially there's three herder family always claiming this is wrong about this fencing of area, but it's already started happily, and hope next year we will have many breeding birds, especially Asian Dowitchers, will successfully breed here. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity for organizing these webinars, and please come to us, help us, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Okay, thanks. So we still have like half an hour open discussion after all 6 talks. So now we have to move to next speaker. Yeah, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next speaker is Ziyu. So she's from Spoonbill Sandpiper in China, and so their team in recent year like launched a survey in Inner Mongolia. Yeah, they will share their recent discovery.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my screen right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect.
okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Today, I will share some fresh findings from this summer, the newly discovered Asian Dowitcher breeding sites in northeastern China. And this is probably the first Asian Dowitcher breeding record in China in nearly 20 years. First, I would like to express gratitude to the Sun Yat-sen University, Zhilan Foundation, and Southern University of Science and Technology for funding our service. We also thank the following National Nature Reserves and Liaoning University for their tremendous support. We would also like to thank the following people who either participated in the surveys or helped in preparation of our surveys. Thank you. Okay. So if we look up online for Asian Dowitchers breeding distribution, we will normally get something like this. So as indicated by the yellow patches, Asian Dowitchers normally breed in disjunct regions in Russia, Mongolia, and northeastern China. However, the breeding records in northeastern China are very scarce and they're largely outdated. And we couldn't help but wonder, do Asian Dowitchers still breed in northeastern China? And if so, where exactly do they breed? In 2023, in collaboration with Dr. Jimmy Choi, 5 Asian Dowitchers were caught in Mongolia, and the Mongolian scientists deployed satellite tags on those individuals. An additional 5 individuals were caught in Mongolia in this year. So the migration tracks of these satellite tag individuals revealed some potential breeding grounds in northeastern China. And as a result, we embarked on an expedition to look for breeding Asian Dowitchers this summer. And in this map here, the dots are the rough migration routes and the habitat use patterns of the 3 satellite tagged individuals. So this summer, we visited areas where there were a cluster of dots or where the Asian Dowitchers spent an extended period of time, namely Hulun Lake, China-Russia border, Huhe-Nuer, Tumuji, and Shanghai. So we had no luck. And sorry, I want to add one more thing, is that we also designed some quadrants around those clusters. Yes. Okay, so we had no luck at the China-Russia border, mainly because of restricted access to the border. And we only found 1 suspicious Asian Dowitcher at Huhe-Nuer, but we had no evidence to prove that the Asian Dowitcher was actually breeding there. Today, I will mainly talk about the other 3 sites. To give you a better idea of where the 3 sites are located, please look at this map. So these 3 sites, they're all national level nature reserves that are located in northeastern China. Hulun Lake and Tumuji are in Inner Mongolia province, and Shanghai is in Jilin province. Okay, so first, I will start with Hulun Lake National Nature Reserve. The map here shows the southern part of the Hulun Lake Nature Reserve. The orange squares in this map here are the quadrants that we intended to do our surveys in. But because this area is huge and not all quadrants were easily accessible by car, so we ended up only visiting a few quadrants. So in this particular quadrant here, we managed to find 3 Asian Dowitcher nests in less than 2 hours. And we suspect that there must be more Asian Dowitcher nests around because there were more Asian Dowitchers that are moving around, and some of them were looking suspicious. They were either sitting down or they were sneaking, but we stopped looking to reduce disturbance to the breeding birds. And next, I'll show you a few photos that were taken within this quadrant. So the 3 nests, they were all located in the experimental zone of the Hulun Lake National Nature Reserve. The general habitat is wet grassland, or more specifically speaking, they're floodplain meadows. So basically they're meadows that are located alongside rivers, and they're really flat areas. And the grassland, as shown in this photo on the left, yes, that's the general habitat. Okay, so the grassland is collectively owned by the local community, and the land is contracted to multiple herdsmen families. And that's why we can see free grazing cattle and like horses everywhere. And in this photo here, in the center here, you can see an Asian Dowitcher that's sitting on the nest, incubating. And the other bird on the right here is probably its mate. So this other bird was guarding the nest and looking very vigilant. And this next Asian Dowitcher was performing broken wing display to lure us away from its nest. And here is a short video showing the broken wing display in action. Okay, I play it one more time. Okay. Okay. And these are the 3 nests that we found in the area. All nests contained 2 eggs. And I'm not sure if you can see clearly in this lower right corner, these 2 eggs, they were actually covered in mud. So unfortunately, this net was probably flooded by rainfall. And next, moving on to Tumuji, Catherine and I found 1 nest in the core zone of the Tumuji National Nature Reserve. So the nest was around here in this area. The general habitat here is also wet grassland, quite like that of the Hulun Lake National Nature Reserve. And as you can see, in the distance here, there were also free grazing cattle and horses. So this is the nest that we found here. So in the center, we have an Asian Dowitcher that is sitting on nest. And this is what the nest looked like as we walked closer. It is more exposed than we would have thought. And this is the close-up view of the nest. So there was only 1 egg in this nest. So as you can see, the nest was sitting in water that's approximately 10 centimeters or 4 inches in depth. So while we were watching the parent from a distance, we can see that when the parent was sitting on the nest, it was constantly adding vegetation to the nest, presumably an attempt to prevent the egg from rolling out of the nest and to reduce the likelihood of the nest being flooded. And finally, the Shanghai National Nature Reserve. We did not find any breeding Asian Dowitchers this summer in Shanghai. However, this site is very much worth mentioning. because an early paper documented the breeding habits of Asian Dowitchers in Shanghai Nature Reserve between 1985 and 2004. On the left here is a screenshot of the paper showing the general study area. So the black circles, they showed the breeding distribution of Asian Dowitcher, whereas the black triangles showed the distribution of the non-breeding Asian Dowitchers. So they might be simply passing by during migration. So back then, GPS device was not easily attainable. So this map here was entirely hand-drawn by the authors. And we were really lucky that the lead author of this article, shown in this photo here on the right, Mr. Yu, who is currently retired and in his early 70s, he has kindly offered to take us to his study sites where he conducted his breeding Asian Dowitcher studies 20 years ago. And in addition to that, we also surveyed some potential breeding sites that were reviewed by the satellite tracking data. So Mr. Yu, the lead author of the early article, took us to the location where he recorded the highest number of Asian Dowitchers between 1985 and 2004. And we were shocked to find out that this location has become dry, overgrazed, and completely unsuitable for breeding waterbirds. A few other locations where Mr. Yu conducted his study have also dried out. In particular, in one location, a concrete road was built. So according to Mr. Yu, Asian Dowitcher's breeding sites in Shanghai have been severely fragmented. And Catherine and I spent a few more days looking for breeding Asian Dowitchers in the nature reserve, and we had no luck. Nevertheless, we think that suitable breeding habitats for Asian Dowitchers may still remain, and Shanghai is worth visiting again in the coming years. And we also recorded 8 wandering Asian Dowitchers in the nature reserve, which showed no sign of breeding. Okay. And I'd like to point out that the areas that we visited in this summer were not only breeding grounds for Asian Dowitchers. This slide shows a list of other breeding waterbirds that we recorded during our surveys. Black-winged stilt and white-winged tern in particular were found to be highly associated with Asian Dowitcher nests, meaning that they often build their nests next to one another. And finally, the take-home message. Our surveys in this summer indicate that northeastern China, and especially the Inner Mongolia province, is still an important breeding ground for Asian Dowitcher. Although we did not find any nests in Shanghai, we suspect that the Shanghai Nature Reserve may still hold Asian Dowitcher breeding populations, and this site is worth visiting again in the coming years. Some potential threats that may decrease the breeding success of Asian Dowitchers and other waterbirds are trampling of nests by free grazing cattle, habitat loss and fragmentation, as well as risk of nests being flooded during heavy rainfall. So we plan to revisit the 3 sites next year to conduct more intensive and comprehensive surveys at each site to better understand the breeding ecology of Asian Dowitcher. For example, we plan to record the nest density, nest initiation date, hatch date, nest fate, and reason for nest failure, if applicable. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Sil, and exciting to see we have rediscovered this breeding birds in China, and also my team is also interested in other breeding shorebird in this region, so that's why we partially support this survey. Okay, let's move to our next speaker. So it's Dr. Jimmy Choi from Kunshan Duke University. So he will show us about the movement, some data of movement of the Asian Dowitcher. So Jimmy, are you ready?
Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah. So sorry, I'm sorry. So you are a Guy, right? So yeah.
Yeah. A student
Dr.
of
Choi is
Professor
a
Jimmy
master
Choi.
student from Mongolia, but now she's based in Duke. Yeah.
Okay, so
Please go
good
ahead.
afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for sharing this valuable information to us. And to briefly introduce myself, my name is Gege, and I'm currently a second-year student at Duke University, and I have been working on analyzing the movement data with the guidance of Professor Jimmy Choi. And today we will introduce the movement patterns of the tracked Asian Dowitchers in recent years and share what we have found so far. As mentioned before, we can see that the Lianyingang tidal flats is an important stopover site for many water birds and especially for the Asian Dowitchers. And according to the survey data from 2019 and 2020, the Lianyingang tidal flats supported at least 200,000 water birds. And among those birds, 17 of them were threatened or near threatened species. And the Lianyingang tidal flats is a really crucial stopover site for Asian Dowitchers because more than 90% of the global population of the Asian Dowitcher were recorded in Lianyingang in 2019. And moving on to our primary objectives for the research, since we have a background of how important the Lianyingang coastal wetland is, our research goal focuses on to evaluate the impact of the Blue Bay project at Lianyingang. So the Blue Bay
Gige, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So as for the satellite tracking, we primarily used two types of trackers. The first is the Jude Mini type of trackers, which is pretty convenient because it directly sends us the data through the mobile network. But as for the nano trackers, it requires an extra work because we have to find the birds again to get our receivers close to the birds to get the most updated information again. And about the data, they send us various type of information, including the location, temperatures of the environment and the body, and speed, altitude, direction, behavior, and many more physiological data. And as of now, for the 3 years of attempt, in the first 2 years we had we found like 0 birds. We couldn't find any birds to get our receivers close to. However, in 2023, we tagged 22 individuals, and among them, 5 of them were tagged in Mongolia, and 17 of them were tagged in Shanghai. And 10 of them used the mini trackers, and 12 used the nano trackers. And in this year, we additionally tagged 5 individuals in Mongolia. And speaking of Liaoningang, we also have to mention the importance, like the unique features of coastal wetlands in East Asia. So as we can see from the picture, the specialty about the coastal wetland in East Asia is that to the right side, we can see various fish ponds used by humans, but on the other side, there are the coastal wetlands. And for the birds, both of the region is important for them to live, to breed. But for humans, they use the fish ponds and also the coastal wetlands. So that means there are a lot of conflicts between the conflicts between the needs for humans and birds, so that the many seawall are being built for the human needs, but the seawall is now affecting the birds and their food to be decreased. And in this figure, it shows the rapid advance of the seawall that is making the birds hard to live. And also in this picture shows the seawall being built. And some reference pictures of observing birds in the wetland area. And the bird nets we use to capture the birds. And finally tagging them. And here is the reference list for all the tagged Asian Dowitchers. So we can see that the earliest one we tagged was in 2023, and the most recent one was in last August. So to introduce the key findings of our research, we focused on finding the impact of the Blue Bay project because, as we mentioned before, in the map to the left-hand side, we can see that inside the semicircle, which is the seawall, the Blue Bay project area, 2 out of 3 birds regularly used the Blue Bay project area before the seawall construction site. But now, after our research, we can see that the birds are not using the Blue Bay project area regularly. It is kind of shifted to the outer side of the Blue Bay project area. And now, only 1 out of 5 Asian Dowitchers is now using the Blue Bay project area regularly.
Area, we also took or collect benthic samples to investigate what are the potential impacts of the Blue Bay project area. So on this slide, on the right-hand side, there's a semicircle, and that's where the Blue Bay area was. And we collect the benthic samples on the intertidal wetlands just right next to the project area. And our hypothesis was that if the Blue Bay area, if the Blue Bay project does not have a significant impact to the birds in the intertidal wetlands at Lanyingang, then what we collect outside the Blue Bay project area should maintain the similar sort of trend between years. However, if the Blue Bay project have a negative impact on the intertidal wetlands there, then the population trends of the benthic organisms outside the Blue Bay project area may be different. Namely, the areas or the projects that are close to the project area would have substantial decline over time, while the areas a bit further from the Blue Bay project area may have a different trends. And this was exactly what we found. So from the sampling stations nearest to the project area, the benthic organism density has decreased a lot over the last 2 years, while the sampling stations in the middle region and in the northern region, the benthic organism density has increased. And over the next few slides, I will provide a very brief overview of what we found from the tracking work of Asian Dowitchers. And these birds were mainly tagged in Chap Lake by our colleague Suyaga and his team. And one interesting finding here to show on this first slide is the northward movement of the two Asian Dowitchers. So these two birds were tagged in May in Chap Lake, but then they did not breed there. They continued to migrate for another 1,700 kilometers and spent the summer in Russia. I think that was in the site that Eugenie introduced earlier on. And then during southward migration, one bird stopped at the Bohai Bay, the other one at Lanyingang before moving to Vietnam, and eventually one bird ended up in Malaysia. And then this second slide here shows you the only northward migration tracking data that we have collected so far. So again, both of the individuals were tagged in Chap Lake in 2023. And then one migrates south and spent the winter in Indonesia. And the second individual spent the boreal winter in Northern Territory. And both of these birds migrate north afterwards, but they did not go all the way to the breeding ground. With one individual bird spending the summer in Bohai area, and then eventually in Jiangsu coast. And then the second bird that wintered in Northern Territory moved to the Philippines and spent the summer there. So both individuals did not migrate all the way back. And finally, there's an interesting individual that we tagged in Chongming Dongtan last year. And this individual bird, this was a juvenile, and it took a loop in the South China Sea, passing through the Philippines and then returning back to the Fujian coast before heading over to Thailand. So I think it demonstrates how the young birds have sort of little sense of where they want to go. And so in summary, among all the tracked individuals, what we have got so far is that one individual wintered in Thailand, and then two in Vietnam, and then another two in Malaysia, and one in Indonesia, three in the Philippines, and one in Australia. So this matches very much what Huyaga and Eugenie has already shared. And we think that this is interesting. And also, we found that during the southward migration, the Asian Dowitchers like to stop in 3 different regions. The first one is in the northeast China. So northeast China and also eastern part of Mongolia. So they are areas where the birds would breed in summertime and also stop over during southward migration. And then many of the birds would stop at least once in the Bohai Bay in the Yellow Sea region. And then in southeastern China, the Philippines and the Vietnam areas, that's another important stopover for the birds before moving to their ultimate wintering ground. So juvenile birds, they don't migrate in their first summer, at least for the Asian Dowitchers, because we didn't find any of the Chongming Dongtan juvenile Asian Dowitchers in the spring this year. So we have to try again next year. And we also think that Asian Dowitchers could be a flagship species for wetland conservation in Southeast Asia, given its widespread distribution during the wintering season. And finally, the Blue Bay project at Lanyingang could have negative impacts on the Asian Dowitchers, as we have seen from the preliminary data. Finally, I would like to thank all of the collaborators of the work that we have just introduced, including Catherine Shewenjie, helping with the catching work, and also the colleagues, especially Huyaga and Amaku, who help with the Mongolian bird Conservation Center, who help protect the birds, and all the volunteers who have been involved in the project, and also especially in China for organizing this webinar. Thank you.
Thanks for the this interesting presentation by Gigi and Dr. Chai. Okay, so let's move to our last speaker. So he's En Chai from Madam State University from Indonesia. So he's the representative from non-breeding grounds of Asian Dowitcher. So he will show us about Sumatra shorebirds like survey.
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay. Yeah, hello everyone. Let me introduce about our work in North Sumatra, Indonesia. About our project in Sumatran Shorebird Research and Conservation with the specific information of Asian Dowitcher. My name is Haironas Adha Putra. I work for Medan State University on the last 1 year, and my last NGO is Wild Heritage of Sumatra WIS Foundation ya in Indonesia. Nah, our main purpose of the project is to identify the important site for migratory shorebird, especially for the threatened species such as Northern Greensang, Far Eastern Curlew, Great Knot, Asian Dowitcher, and also spoonbill sandpiper, yeah, and trying to work on their conservation things, yeah. And then we want to know the threats facing the shorebird in our site. This is our survey site on the eastern coast of North Sumatra province. We visit this site in 2018 and 2019, about nearly 40 sites. And most of the site is intertidal mudflat, yeah. And some of that is fish pond and rice field also. And this is the data. The total number of individual that we record is nearly 70,000 individual, yeah. And about 31 is shorebird species. And we record about 1,200 individual of Asian Dowitcher during that time. And this is the 15 most abundant shorebird that we found. We can see the highest count for Asian Dowitcher in 2018 is more than 1%. Yeah, this is 13% of total EFP population. Yeah, and then our survey in 2019, we record nearly 80,000 individual of waterbird species and 30 species of shorebird, and we record more than 2,000 individual of Asian Dowitcher. And this is the data for our survey in 2019. We can see Asian Dowitcher here, the highest count is more 2,000, yeah, but the total count is about 3,900. And we can see also another threatened species like Great Knot, also many, and Bartel Godwit, and others. And we combine that the total count you can see for the 2018 and 19, we can see Asian Dowitcher is about 3,000, yeah, 3,000 individual. And small number like Far Eastern Curlew and grid node also many. And this is one of our top priority site for conservation. Yeah, we can count 10,000 here, 10,000 Shorebird, including some more than 1% population in the EAP, like Northern Greensang, Eurasian Curlew, Asian Dowitcher also, and the site support more than 25 Shorebird species, including great knot, dactyl godwit. And another site that also very important is Kresek Beach in North Sumatra province. We can, the highest count for the site is about 25,000, yeah. And we can record more than 10 species that more 1% population in the EAP. And we record 24 Shorebird in the area also. This is the map of the site. You can see the Sujono Beach here. This is good site for Asian Dowitcher, and Kresek Beach near the Sujono is also very important for Shorebird. Yeah, and now we trying to make a local regulation for Shorebird protection in the area. What is the threats on the site is illegal killing. Yeah, some people, local people, catch the birds in the area, and also the status of the mangrove forest and also the intertidal mudbed is not protected. Yeah, so we need to up the status of the area, and also the site many heavy activities of industry, and also many local people collect, sell, and also maybe make a small conflict. Yeah, but I think it's still good. And the other side in the Deli Serdang Coast is Bagan Percut. This side is also support more than 5,000. Yeah, you can see in the slide. And there are many species that more than 1%, like Pacific golden plover, Russian sunplover, Yusan Curlew, and we record about 200 to 260 individual of Asian Dowitcher. This is the site for the Deli Serdang Coast here in Bagan Percut. We also propose that area for protected. Yeah. And then in the next province, in the Aceh province, the northern part of the Sumatra island, we do a wide survey to see the Shorebird and important site, and we do the survey between 2019 to 2020, and we visit about 29 location. And most of the location is fish pond. And the result is we count a total more than nearly 35,000 individual of water birds. And we can see also some family of Shorebird like Scolopacidae and Caradridae, 25 species. And we count a total 127 individual of Asian Dowitcher in the Aceh Coast. And this is the total count of the survey we can see in the slide. We also record one individual of Far Eastern Curlew and many lizard sandpiper. And for the site, the most important site in Aceh province is Ulematang province in Aceh province. This site also we found spoonbill sandpiper, our first spoonbill sandpiper in Indonesia, yeah, by satellite tracking in 2018. So we do regular survey in the area and trying to find another individual. The highest count for the site is more than 5,000 individual. And then we found 98 of Asian Dowitcher in the area. And another site in the Aceh province is Kuala Parek. We recorded 4 global near-threatened species such as Erosan Karliu, Asian Dowitcher, and Paracel Karliu in the area. And we record 29 individual of Asian Dowitcher in Kuala Parek. Okay, what we know about the population of Asian Dowitcher in Indonesia so far. This is the data from the papers and from the report, and also from the eBirds. Mostly the data come from 2010 to 2024. Yeah, we can see the Sumatra Island here. The number of population in 2018 to 2019 is 2,250 in Batubara Coast. And then we have another good record in the Waikambas, Lampung, Southern Sumatra in 2009. The record about 600 individual. We can see also some other record between another part of Sumatra like Java, Bali, Sulawesi, Papua, and East Nusa Tenggara, and Borneo. Yeah, you can see in the slide we estimate about 4,000 birds now in Sumatra, and then Java, Bali 1 to 10 birds, Sulawesi 2 birds, Lesser Sunda and Papua 1 birds, and Kalimantan 0 bird. But based on your presentation, maybe more site that we can do survey in the future to know the population there. But this distribution is come from the data, the data. But I think that the data not represent the real distribution of Asian Dowitcher in Indonesia, because not many people, local people, do the bird survey around the Borneo, Kalimantan, and Sulawesi also, and Papua. So we need to do more survey in the area in Kalimantan, Sulawesi, and Papua. And this is the trend of shorebird population and Asian Dowitcher in our side. We have quite good data from 2014 to 2021. We can see the number of population, the total shorebird is about 10,000 in 2014, and decrease until 2021. But the number of Asian Dowitcher is quite stable. You can see the number of Asian Dowitcher in Deli Serdang Coast about 200 to 300 from that year. And we have another paper from the South Sumatra by our good colleague Iqbal. There are a good record in 1985. The site support more than 30 Asian Dowitcher, and then we can count like that anymore during recently. So the number is very low, between 2000 and 2020. The number cannot reach that number again. Okay, that is the end of my presentation. I think this is our supporter to do a bird survey in North Sumatra and Aceh. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I think now we still have like a half an hour for the next session. So so in our open discussion, so we will have the opportunity to share information and to discuss the issues we need to solve or work together. And so before that, so I really want to thank our 6 speakers who bring us very interesting talks, especially so the title of our webinar is Asian Dowitcher update. So I feel I really learn a lot about the status in breeding grounds, non-stop oversight, and also the wintering grounds. So I guess everybody will should have some question to ask. I propose so because we have a limited space for speaker, so I guess we can invite people from other non-breeding grounds in China or in other countries to share the information. So perhaps some people want to start your update. So for example, like we have a representative from Philippines and also other important stopover sites like in Liaoning or in Jiangsu provinces. Yeah, so I really encourage you can unmute and share the update information. So anybody want to start? Or if you have also questions about, okay, there's one. How can I? Scan. Yeah, sorry. I don't know how to make
Hello,
our.
can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, please.
Okay, you can call me just Hoiga.
Hoiga, okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So I have a question from Evgeny Shemyakin.
Okay. I
Okay.
hear.
Okay. Okay, I have a question, and Dr. Evgeny, do you know any surveys that conducted in Seling River basin in the Baikal Lake? Because we heard that there used to be the large breeding Asian Dowitchers and exist in the Seling River basin in Baikal Lake. And is there any surveys conducted and any status was estimated or?
Thank you, Ganguyan. Baikal Lake, maybe you know many time working Melnikov, Dr. Melnikov. It's Delta River Selenga.
Yes.
This time I don't know this place in Baikal Lake worked richer people. I don't know. Yeah. In the and this territory, the Delta Selenga, uh, this time uh, Delta Selenga and Baikal Lake, no drought. I don't know situation in Asian Dowitcher. We maybe work and Buryat colleagues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
So there's a question from Thura. Can you? Yeah, okay.
Yes, hello. This is Tura from Myanmar. Actually, I have no question. According to the very interesting information from the satellite taking data of the Asian Dowitcher, that Myanmar is not included in its flying way. But I would like to share the information from one of the sister sites in Myanmar, the capital of Modama. We recorded about nearly 200 individuals saw Asian Dowitcher in 2023. And this is the highest count, highest record for Myanmar. But this year, in 2024, we just record about only 20 individuals. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. So we also have some questions in chat box or comments. Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, hi.
Just a question from Dr. Jimmy Choi.
Yeah, perhaps Jamie has already left, but if his students can answer, maybe can answer your question.
Yes, sure. He had a class, so he left
Okay.
the meeting.
I'm just wondering that because in the most of the breeding habitats, nesting habitats of Asian dowitchers in Mongolia has really disappeared in the last May and June. So some of our the guys surveyed in most of the areas in the southern part of central Mongolia, and so the historical breeding habitats are really disappeared, and no any breeding Asian dowitchers recorded. But based on the current the locations of the breeding birds from Evgeny's presentation and also the migration data, and it looks like the breeding population is probably the shifted to the more in the north, and the wintering areas mostly they reach to the Indo-Malayan countries for wintering. And because what I heard from the Evgeny was there was new breeding habitat, breeding distribution site of Asian Dowitcher in I can't remember the name of the river, like Yuli River or something. And it seems like the breeding population is more shifted to the more in the north. And I'm just going to ask Dr. Jimmy Choi about the more northern location of the tracking data. But if Giga is answering this, then it's also fine. Thank you. What's the most northern location in Russia?
We have just a few recorders in the northern part, like more into the Russian, but since our research was more focused on the Leningrad area, we don't have like many like detailed information, but we can always look back to the data and provide you more about the northern usage of the bird.
Yeah, okay, got it. So
yeah, this time and north area Asian Dowitcher dynamic area every year Asian Dowitcher new find territory and new colony and go to east. Это что, да? Go to east. Breeding sites wetland. This criorid habitat. The These steppe meadows, yeah, and и уровень воды там тоже очень water level. This new territory is criorid wetland. Degrade? Decrease, yeah, decrease territory. And as in Dowitcher, find new territory. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I have a question maybe to all people from breeding grounds. So I haven't worked on this species before, but I see this the breeding range of Asian Dowitcher are very fragmented. It seems to have like 3 or 4 subpopulations in Mongolia and Inner Mongolia and also in Russia. I'm just wondering what's the reason behind this? Is just due to some kind of habitat fragmentation in this area, or it's just some historical reason, for example, like some glacier isolation among these subpopulations. So I'm just very curious about this. Anybody can have some comments on that, because so perhaps there's already some kind of population show divergence in genetics or in their migratory strategies.
Maybe Asian Dowitcher find new territory, this nomad birds, and maybe go to north, and the problem is draw breeding area. I don't know, maybe.
Okay, that's in Mongolia. We did several surveys along the 3 rivers in northeast Mongolia and looking for breeding Asian Dowitchers. But in the Old River, this is the river the most of the large number of herder families with the livestock is the living along the river, and it's the river valley is heavy used by the livestock, and so very degraded, and this river valley is it's very less number of breeding shorebirds compared with the Dutch River, which is more along the boundaries border, and where there are very less number of livestock. And so in the Dutch River, in the northern part, we observed and recorded many breeding black-tailed godwits and other shorebirds. But in the Old River and Hurling River is much less number of breeding shorebirds because of its habitat is very degraded and heavy grazing by the livestock, and which really creates habitat loss. But it's last for 5 years. It's a number the rain period is started, and the sum of rivers are floated, and the riparian forest is really recovered. And so, but we need a regular monitoring, and which needs to identify the trend of the populations. And so, but the livestock and also drought and heavy grazing is the one of the impacts and traits, and why the habitat is the loss, yeah, and the breeding grounds.
Okay. So just follow this comment. I'm just thinking if it's necessary to have a kind of simultaneous survey in breeding grounds, for example, in Mongolia and Inner Mongolia in China in future. So what do you think about this? Because using similar, protocol and maybe all the people in a certain stage to count breeding pairs.
Yes, I agree.
Comment
That's
on
good.
that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
good suggestions. And because we heard that the findings from Dr. Jimmy Choi and also Mia and Catherine, they found breeding Asian Dowitchers from the Hurling River, and which just joined the Golden Lake. But in the Hurling River in Mongolian side, we did several surveys and we didn't find any single breeding Asian Dowitchers. Even in Hurling River, we didn't find any single breeding common cranes, which is also recorded breeding in the China side in the same river, which is it's very interesting because probably that those areas are not really heavy used by the livestock or herder families, and that's probably the provides the good habitat for nesting birds in China side and near the Golden Lake. So in the future. And the next, we should use the field survey protocol to estimate the population and distribution areas, and so that would be a good idea.
Any comment from Ziyu and the Chinese team
Yeah, I
on
also
that?
think that's a good idea. It's worth exploring in the future. Yeah.
And
Okay.
definitely for Inner Mongolia, there have been breeding pairs observed maybe 4 or 5 years ago by Zhu Bingren, who studied the black-tailed godwits breeding there.
Okay. Yeah. So let's move on. Wintering grounds. So we also have some representative from the Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand. So I just want to ask if you have any comments or like suggestion about wintering status. So now you have an opportunity to share. And also perhaps Dr. Ding Li can talk about birds in Vietnam and Cambodia. Nobody?
Hi, Yang.
Hi, Ding Li.
English here. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have really good to see this webinar. I think it's a lots of great updates from colleagues and friends from all over Asia. Maybe I'll just share a little bit on Southeast Asia, but more to build upon my colleague Chai's presentation. Yeah, so I think Chai has kind of demonstrated quite clearly that Sumatra is probably one of the most, if not the most important wintering areas. Although one of the challenges is that much of the Sumatran coastline, as he's pointed out, is not so well surveyed. So the north is pretty well covered now, and then the south is also quite well covered at several sites around a peninsula called Banyuasin, which used to historically have the largest congregation known in the world, I think. So I think that's a big gap there that I believe Tage has mentioned in his in the chat that needs more fieldwork, more surveys, especially the areas that are outside the big national parks in Sumatra. Moving to the mainland part of Southeast Asia, mainland part of Southeast Asia is also important part of the Dowitcher's migration and life cycle. I think Jimmy's presentation showed that quite a lot of the Mongolian tech Dowitchers eventually spent a few days in the southern part of Vietnam. So in southern part of Vietnam, it's not the most important wintering areas in this region. We usually get maybe like 10 to a couple of hundred wintering each season. But it's obviously quite important as a as a stopover site. So where some of these birds will eventually go, I'm not so sure. Maybe Jimmy would be best positioned to mention about them. Yeah, but Mekong Delta is an area that is a large part of my work. It's got 3 or 4 wetlands, of which only in the last 5 years we now know a lot more about the shorebirds numbers there. And some of these wetlands are similar to other wetlands in Southeast Asia where colleagues have studied. For example, in southern Vietnam, it's beginning to show up in the data that many of these really important staging areas are salt pans, salt farms. So most of us tend to assume that salt farms are in Thailand, but actually the salt farm of Vietnam and possibly even Cambodia are quite important for the wintering and the stopover shorebirds. I think for Cambodia, we don't have that much data, but there's at least one site in Western Cambodia that is good for Dowitchers. Again, it's not big numbers, not even meeting like 0.5% of the population, but we get small numbers every year. The other site I was talking about in Cambodia is more for Nordmann's greenshank and a bit less so for Asian Dowitcher. So just a quick update from Southeast Asia, but really just to add on to the points that my colleagues have made earlier. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Stanley. Comments. So any other country want to share, yeah, the wintering status?
Young, there's a comment from colleagues in Thailand also in the chat, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. See.
Yeah, I think from what we heard, salt pan is quite an important habitat for the Asian Dowitcher generally in Southeast Asia.
Hi, I'm Patricia. I'm from Malaysia. I would just like to add on to some points from Chai's presentation. So he was talking about how there are not many they have not done surveys around Borneo itself. So for Sarawak, the Malaysian part of Borneo, historically we had quite a lot of Asian Dowitchers in one of the sites called Pulau Bruit, which I think in 1986 about 500 individuals or so. But there's a lot of changes happening to the site and it's no longer suitable. So the recent surveys, we didn't even, I think, didn't even reach 10 individuals of Asian Dowitchers. Other than that, in Buntal Bay, you only get about 20 to 30 Asian Dowitchers. Yeah, so that's about it.
How about Philippines? So Irene, I saw your comments before. So you want to share more information?
So for Philippines, I think the data that comes out of Asian waterbird census is undercount. Because by the time they do the Asian waterbird census, the population that just passed by has already gone, and the one that stays behind, which is the wintering population, it's not even the peak yet. So from the work that I did, this is a individual work, not with an organization that I've been surveying. The peak is not actually around January, which is when Asian waterbird census is done. So we are hoping that we would get some help of actually doing more surveys around the country because my capacity is very limited. I'm funding myself whenever I do these counts. So I hope we can do more collaboration on surveys. The peak and the numbers that you see in the records is lower, and the one that I've had is much higher, and not even including the months where I cannot even go to count yet. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I also think we should think about whether the Asian Dowitcher should be upgraded from near threatened to vulnerable. So if it's possibility, so what kind of information we are still missing, so as the evidence of as a sign of the global population declining or other kind of threats. So about this topic, I would rather want to have an opinion from Ding Li or Dr. Munker or people working on the red data book or red data checklist. Do you guys have any comments on that? Okay.
I can make a
Yeah,
comment. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was just making a comment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wrote an email to the IUCN Red List Committee a few years ago, and we wanted to suggest that they uplist Asian Dowitcher to vulnerable or even endangered based on the data from Lianyungang, because Asian Dowitcher is so highly concentrated in Lianyungang. The response from the expert is that we will need more data, especially data from the breeding ground and the wintering ground, which show the long-term population trend of Asian Dowitcher. Yes, so probably that's what's lacking right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I also see Dr. David Lee, our old friend, is here. So you want to say something from, Singaporean perspective about this species?
Thanks, Professor Liu. So for the opportunity, which I, do have a small, of course, big interest about the Asian Dodger, but there's not much study which I done myself. Singapore has a random population, particularly when bad weather happens. The birds probably supposed to head into Sumatra, make a stopover in Singapore. So anyway, we are still, providing a stopover during urgent situation for bird to en route to Indonesia. So just want to take the opportunity to also share there's a Shorebird Conservation Forum to be held in Beijing in mid-October. If any of the audience are to be attending the meeting, maybe we could, look into a small discussion, not officially, but probably during the side meetings further for the Asian Dodger. Also, if, either Professor Liu or Catherine or someone else want to do some sort of overview on the Asian Dodger moving forward, there's, even though the schedule are quite tight, it's possible to slot in a few minutes presentation. So I just thought maybe good to share this so that in case people don't miss opportunity or further discussing on the research and conservation of the species. Thanks a lot for the opportunity and highly appreciate it.
Yeah. So So you're about this workshop, it should be in October, right?
Yeah, so for the Shorebird Conservation Forum will be held on 18th October morning, which is co-organized with the Beijing Forestry University.
Okay, thanks. So I'm also a bit confused because there's also another like Asian ornithology conference in Beijing that will be in November. So that's
yeah,
also
that's November. So 17th
November.
October, we'll have this waterbird science meet. Yeah, then followed by the Shorebird Conservation Forum on the 18th October. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for this information, and also this maybe there's one comment from Ding Li. Maybe the group can convene in AOC in Beijing. So that will be the November. The events will happen in November. So I hope somebody, because I'm also part of the organizing committee of the AOC, so I also encourage people can meet in Beijing for that meeting. All right. So I guess we are really at the end of this webinar. So if anybody have any question or proposal or suggestion, or maybe advertisement to share?
I just like to add one more thing. So we created an Asian Dowitcher email group earlier this year. The group includes people who are interested in Asian Dowitcher conservation. So if you're not in the group already, and if you would like to join, you can shoot me an email and I will leave my email address in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So it's just, we send you an email, right? How to join this?
Yes. Or you can leave your email in the chat box and I'll add you.
Okay.
ZU is a working group, yeah?
It's an email group. Yeah, we send updates of Asian Dowitchers along the flyway. Yes.
Okay. All right. I think we are really have all our task or like to in the aim for this webinar. So now I've to close this webinar. So before that, I would really want to thank our 6 speakers and also organizers from SBS in China, and of course all the audience and representative from the breeding, non-breeding grounds in Eastern Asia. So that's it.
Thank you. Just
thank you.
Just very the short information that the next year we are planning to do surveys, very intensive surveys along the 3 rivers in Eastern Mongolia. And so if anyone who wants to join in our surveys and volunteering work, please contact us.
Yes, I mean, I think the better way to also to share more details about this survey through the email, the mailing group, right? So
yes, thank you.
Yeah, don't hesitate to contact ZU or maybe leave your email here.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.